What's up, YouTubers? It's your boy Ethan M. Wong.
Were you trying to come up with a YouTube name?
I tried. What's up, style heads? What's up, ass heads?
Gentlemen!
Hello, stylish folk. I'm Alex Svetkovich. I don't even think he listens to this podcast. I don't think anyone.
Why would he?
Why would he?
Yeah.
when he lives the life already, right?
Exactly.
Anyway, what's up, guys? I'm Ethan. Welcome to Style Direction, a menswear podcast without the stuffiness.
And I'm Spencer.
That's Spencer. Yeah, there you go. Because I didn't do it after the thing.
Yep. I'm also here.
Yeah,
and that's my
deal. We
deal.
haven't done. Let's revisit an old segment. It's called "What Are You Wearing Today?"
Oh, what am I wearing?
A totally visual thing.
I'm gonna do what was I wearing? Because right now
Yeah,
I'm wearing.
What were you wearing?
What were I wearing? Because right now, I'll just quickly do what I'm wearing. I'm wearing the same pants from earlier today. Those are white Beecher trousers from J. Crew, loafers, and my old school newspaper hoodie. That's what I'm currently wearing. Earlier today, I was wearing an Aloha shirt with like a P41, I believe, HBT short coat.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's cool. We should really do a thing on like sweatshirts and stuff.
Yeah.
I think because I've been kind of getting into that lately. If you're in the Street Express community on Facebook, you'll know that I posted recently about all three of like my 60s, 70s hoodies that I've been stopping collecting because. And
there's that huge more. Like lightning book about sweatshirts and stuff, and there's some like really gorgeous examples in there.
Yeah. Call back to the leather jacket one. They released a book on leather jackets, and they've done something for military jackets. They've done like Nike sneakers. They've done one on Just Champion, and then now there's one on sweaters.
Yeah,
so
I was
really
gonna
cool to check out.
I was gonna get the one on sweatshirts, but so normally at Inspiration those books go for like $25, but this time they were selling them for $40. So I was like, eh.
We also got to find out when the newest one is. I hate to message Maiko about it because I want to know when I'm gonna go back to Kintanar and go get the damn book because I'm in it.
Yep.
I hope. But R.I.P. Curry House is closed forever.
Oh, that's right.
So the main reason I go to that place is the main restaurant I go to in that plaza is gone, and they validated. So it's
do you know why? Because I was reading an article about it, and it seemed like they all closed. And
simultaneously.
None of the staff really knew about it.
Yep.
And it seems like it was just something to do with their like holding company or something. The company that owns the restaurant.
No idea. Maybe they had like an Indian curry place, and just like when the motor companies bought out the the trolley cars, they took them out of business. But I have no idea. It's really weird. Remember, there was that one time where they all closed.
R.I.P. Curry House, a Southern California staple. Yeah,
really good Japanese style Western food, which is great. I'm wearing a I'm not wearing the jacket right now, but I'm wearing my cotton suit from Atelier Fugue by our friend Dave Fugel. And as a shirt, I am wearing my I don't even know if it's LVC or not, because it looks like an old like 40s, 30s, 40s, 50s.
Well, I think Sawtooth. The logo, if it's the I know that there's an actual word for it, but like the bull horn or the cow skull logo, I think that's how you tell. Because otherwise, it's just gonna have like a regular. Like Levi's logo.
Our friend, I wore it when we hung out with our friend Andrew, and he also got like a Sawtooth, but it was clearly like the modern Levi's one you get like at like a Levi's store. And the one I'm wearing, I don't know how old it is. I mean, it's clearly pre-used because the denim has like been broken in. But it's a Sawtooth Western Air shirt. It's got like the spear point collar ish kind of stuff. Currently writing about Sawtooths and work shirts, so be on the lookout for that pod episode. But I'm wearing that with like a 30s foulard tie. Which is cool. But yeah, I'm wearing a suit. Or I was wearing a suit.
Congrats.
Thank you. So today we're going to be talking about something that our good friend Matthew, who helps us write the outlines and notes for the pod, he gave us this idea a while back, and it kind of fit into our schedule. So I thought we'd talk about it today, and
we penciled him in.
We penciled him in.
Yep.
And it's style versus fashion. What are the differences, similarities? What are our takes on it?
And then we're going to get into swag versus class.
Yeah, and why men have class and boys have swag. You know, my friend Julie. This is totally off topic, but my friend Julie, who is in like those Asian American groups, I think she was like going on Tumblr randomly. She's like, and she found like a plethora of all those Swagapino posts. Because for those of you who don't know, Filipino Americans had like a big, like they loved the swag thing in like 2008 to like 2011, and my friend Vincent was super into it. My friend Shane, who was like my kuya, basically like wearing like it's not streetwear. It's like wearing like a button-up shirt from H&M with like a bow tie with like a cardigan, but then you're wearing like a snapback from like Chicago Bulls or like the Lakers with like those cheap like knockoff Ray-Bans. You're like, this is swag, guys.
Like the bright plastic ones.
Exactly. And it was such a big thing. But you know, we'll get into that a little bit later. But you know, yeah, style versus fashion, it comes up a lot. It comes up when, you know, it kind of came up with the dressing up in a dress down world kind of conversation we had a couple months ago. Mm-hmm. It happens like every time a heritage brand does something that's not standard, because it's like, oh no, fashion's creeping into classic menswear. So I thought it'd be cool to talk about. You know, great props to Matthew, you know, who really does help us out a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, because it applies to, I think it applies to Spencer and I a lot, because number one, we don't necessarily work directly in the industry. I mean, I technically do, but I'm kind of a bit farther removed from it, so we kind of see from like a consumer standpoint a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And we have changed our style a lot in the past couple of years. We add in a lot of different influences that, you know, if you asked us 5 years ago, we'd probably be like, oh yeah, Jimmy Stewart, Cary Grant, those like style icons. But nowadays we're like, oh, we don't really look at those guys anymore. We look to modern inspirations.
And
which,
I mean, I think,
you know,
this is also going to pair in with our episode from a long time ago about personal style and developing personal style.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, this seems like a topic that has probably been covered on like fucking like Alpha M or whatever.
Of course.
But I don't know. I have not watched that video. I don't know if I'm just making something up to get mad at in my head.
Okay.
Which is possible, but I think we probably have a better take than him.
I mean, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's weird because, you know, obviously both of these things are very subjective.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like they always try and say like style is forever while fashion is fleeting. They always use that argument. And then the flip side is when they take it to like the most extreme version, like that guy Tanner Guzzi will be like, there is no such thing as it's classic style, because if you go to like the ancient Greek times and you wear like an OCBD and chinos, you're gonna look out of place. It's like, no shit, dude, you're going like a millennia ago. Mm-hmm. You know, like, so I don't really subscribe to that mentality. I don't like, you know, honing in on certain eras as like more classic or you know, or as like the epitome of style. I know that this may have changed for me. I'm sure if you know, go to like one of our first episodes, you might hear us say something a little bit different. But the more and more we kind of move forward with our journeys, it's kind of like, I don't know, it feels weird to like in general to be like held down to something.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe it's because we're young. You know, a lot of guys in classic menswear who are held up to be like kind of like style icons, let's say like Ethan Newton or Mark Cho, they've been, you know, they're like 30 years old, so they've been doing this for a while. They've had the opportunity to experiment and stuff. But yeah, it's such a weird topic that, you know, we get asked a lot and comes up in discussions, especially on places that are not our friends. Like when we talk to people who are kind of
it's not like the Zac Efron DJ movie, because they are not our friends.
I remember how, this is totally again off topic, but I have a couple of friends who are like into like rave culture, you know, like the Plur life, and they were like, this is the worst movie, because like they got it so wrong, and I'm like, whoa, I guess
they are not their friends.
Did anyone watch this? Oh, apparently they did.
Yeah, I don't think so. I have not seen the movie. I don't know why I still remember that it exists. But
it just triggered in your mind.
Yeah, it just came out of my brain.
But Spencer, in your head, what do you think is like the difference between like style and fashion?
I don't know. I kind of want to like be like a cynical asshole. I don't know if that's a cynical thing. I just kind of.
I'm just gonna be a dick real quick.
I just kind of want to say it's like I feel like what we define as style is just like, like if you want to talk about, the difference between fashionable celebrities and stylish celebrities. I think what we call style are the ones that we still think look good, and that's about it. Like. That's like, you could talk about like Jimmy Stewart being like, oh, he had style. He wasn't just following fashion trends, but he was following fashion trends at the time.
Yeah, dude.
And he still just looked good.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's there is that thing of like, it's kind of hard to look bad in a well-fitting suit, regardless of era. Because like, we look at, every so often, rowing blazers or... I can't think of another brand, but like our friends in the industry will share pictures of like what's his name, like Richard Gere or like Brad Pitt in like the 80s or 90s wearing a suit, and even though the suit is dated, they still look fucking good. They look really good wearing it, and so it's really hard. You can't really say it's not following trends, because everyone who we consider to be a style icon, whoever looks good, follows some form of fashion.
Because it's like Cary Grant, I think, considered to be one of the stylish men of all time. He dressed like very 30s. Like all his suits,
you also see like pictures of him as they go on. Like there's a picture of him in like the 20s wearing like a very 20s suit, and then there's like a picture of him like golfing like the 50s, and his shoulders are so broad and so big, and
then later in his life he kind of got into like Ivy stuff.
No, exactly. I mean, it's a lot of people, they look at it through like rose-colored glasses, and they think that like all these guys like dress the same forever, but they're at the whim of their tailors, and tailors then and now will give you advice based on like what's in or what like is the best cut. There's a good picture of Jimmy Stewart in like the late 40s where he's wearing like the most broad-shouldered thing with like a really bold tie. I'm pretty sure it's in either my bold tie article or my spear point article, because he's wearing both. But like, you have that, and you see like a picture of him in like, is it Mr. Chips Goes to Washington? Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
Mr. Smith goes to Mr. Chips. It's
what's
Mr. Smith.
I think there's a movie. I think there's a movie called Goodbye, Mr. Chips that John Williams scored. It's from like the 40s, whatever. Anyway, but like you see like that a photo of him from that movie, and he's wearing like a softer shouldered 30s suit. It's not as crazy, and it's definitely a product of fashion. Yep. It has to be.
Goodbye, Mr. Chips is a 1939 film directed by Sam Wood.
Okay. I don't know why I thought of that movie or why I know of it.
So there you go.
Yeah. So was he in that movie?
Mr. John Williams.
Not John.
No. Let me read you the cast. It has a 7.9 rating on IMDb. It stars Robert Donut. It's Robert Donat, Greer Garson, Terry Kilburn, John Mills, Paul Henreid, Judith Furse. So I have seen, a good amount of old movies, and I have heard of almost none of these people. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. But yeah, so to go back to it, all those guys who were, super stylish, they were definitely following the trends of their time. Yep. Even mainly because there wasn't very many trends. Like there wasn't the idea of like wearing a t-shirt, a graphic tee or something, And you also hardly see these guys wearing jeans. Like it's just a product of their time. But even then, if you want, like, I've seen stuff for like Permanent Style or just discussion pages on like Style Forum where sometimes people say that person doesn't have good style just because they're not inventing anything. It's not innovative. I know that's a little bit of like a rare opinion to have, but if we apply that to like these guys back then, they didn't really do much in the terms of like they didn't push any boundaries. In general, they're just wearing like nice suits.
And again, like you said earlier, a lot of them were. I think Cary Grant like was basically just dressed by his tailor. Like he didn't really have much say in what he wore necessarily, and I'm sure over time he developed a sense of like what looks good on him and stuff like that. But you know, most Hollywood people are just dressed by designers.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue like, you know, like when Fred Astaire uses like a tie as a belt, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool personal style. But like you didn't see like him prefer any like. There wasn't really any other trademark to it. Everyone wore collar bars. Everyone wore foulards. Everyone wore spear points. You know, there wasn't any like that pushing of boundary to make it personal. We just consider it stylish today because it goes against the grain of. I just burped.
Nice.
Take a shot.
Okay.
But yeah, you know, compared to like today when you have a plethora of different styles, you know, clearly it'll stand out among you know, the modern streetwear, among the way modern people wear suits, like, you know, like Suit Supply. But back then it really wasn't anything.
Yeah, there was
too special.
There's no 1930s style form or like subreddits where you just mailed in pictures to each other. That would have been great.
Hey, dude, what do you think of this?
And then it's like a mass
I wonder if there
newsletter.
was like an old the style newsletter.
Yeah,
I mean,
what
that's
are
what
you
people have
wearing
apparel.
today, Thread?
I mean, there was like apparel arts, right?
Yeah.
There was like those magazines like that were sent to like people in the industry or to like enthusiasts, whatever, that showed you like this is what like to fucking wear, you know. But yeah, I know I'm just really tired of the whole like kind of old school dialogue with style and fashion, because I personally, if I were to think about it, I think style is something that you just notice about a person. You know, it's like equal parts confidence,
like how they wear things
and uniqueness, and yeah, how you wear something. But then, you know, I mean, not to be a dick, but like I can think of some people who like look really good in like the menswear industry, but don't really have style by my term. I don't know. I mean, it's all subjective, right? Like it's like I tend to gravitate toward looking at people who are a little bit innovative. Like not to like the extreme. I admire streetwear and avant-garde stuff, but I wouldn't really wear it. But I would argue like they have more style than like a dude wearing like a blue suit and like a black grenadine tie or something.
Yeah.
You know.
And I mean, I think a lot of the like style versus fashion thing, a lot of the people that have hard and fast rules about which are the same kind of people that share on Facebook pictures of like Cary Grant, and it says like 1920 and then a picture of like a guy in a fursuit and it says 2020 and then it says men what happened.
What happened?
Yeah. My favorite thing about that image is like the picture of Cary Grant is never what year it was actually taken. It always is like 100 years before whenever it was posted.
Oh my god. Yeah. Regular people don't really know. They're not really in the know there. But I always wonder, I guess, you know, style is also something that you kind of just retain. Yeah. You know, and I guess that's why it comes with confidence.
Maybe you could say that like if a person has style, you could give them like a closet full of clothes that they do not own, and they would reasonably be able to put together a good outfit. Like that's they just have instincts. They know what works well together.
I think that could be what it is. Like it's instinct, and you know, again, confidence is a really big thing within it, because you know some people just don't give a fuck about what they're wearing. Like let's say like Ethan Newton, you know, some people on the street might be like, oh, I wouldn't wear a sawtooth with a fucking sport coat, and then Ethan would be like, well, I'm gonna do it, you know, and. But then what's the difference between what about like fashion? Because I think for me personally, if we were to write it down, I think fashion has a very design-centric focus. It's about, you know, it's inherently innovative, but it's for design's sake rather than personal confidence sake. Like, you know, let's take like those Balenciaga shoes, right? Those like the triple. I don't even know if they're still in anymore, but people love them.
People love them.
You know, like those are fashion because they're just like they're crazy, right? They're done because they just want to be subversive and they're weird. And when you pick it because you want to just change it up, I feel like that's following fashion, but picking it because it adds into like, okay, I like chunky shoes, and I, you know, like I have derbies, I wear Doc Martens. This adds into that. I feel like that's more style. But then who am I to judge? Because I will never know if someone is picking it based on that or not. No one's going to know if they're just doing it for fun or because it's a natural instinct.
It sounds kind of similar to how, you know, you talk about the difference between people who dress because they want to and people who dress, you know, just because something is like, you know, like they want to look cool. Well, I mean, we dress to look cool, but
yeah, let's not get it wrong.
Yeah, it's like we are
at the whim of the outside.
It's like the thing with like, it's like the Civil War. It was about states' rights to what, you know, own slaves. We dress to. It's like we dress because we want to ... look cool.
In parentheses and very small type, you know.
And it's like I'm falling into the trap now of being like, style is good and fashion is bad. I'm doing everything that I said I would not do at the outset.
It's such an arbitrary like thing, you know. It's just, it goes back to like, you just use it to make yourself sound better than other people. Like, you know, you don't know what other people are wearing. You don't know why they're doing it. But hiding behind, oh, I'm stylish, they're just fashion. Yeah, is such a weird. It's such a like a dick move to me. You know, like, again, we get along with people who have vastly different attire than we do.
You know? Or even just we can hang out with people who don't wear the same clothes as us.
I mean, also if you look at like most of our, if you're friends with me on Facebook, I mean, it's private, don't add me please. But like we hang out with like people who don't give a shit about any like suits at all, or like Western wear or workwear. They're just regular dudes, you know. But we don't care. And even like, let's take our friend Andrew, who's not necessarily into menswear. I'd argue he has personal style because he inherently loves wearing like denim shirts.
He definitely has like he has a look.
I think it's like having a look, having a uniform, I guess if you want to call it that, or personal taste. Because like, again, like Spencer said, if you give them like a whole store and they could pick something out of it, that's personal style because they have intent behind that kind of thing, you know. And I think that's super important. It's not just about wearing a tie because a tie, that like a rep tie is going to last forever. It's about what ties make up your wardrobe.
Yeah, like you talk about timeless style, and I think a truly stylish person will not care about that. They'll wear something.
And I think and timeless style is also and timeless style is also like they wear it forever because they like it. You know, and that's one thing too. I guess, you know, if you want to bring it back to like Cary Grant or whatever, they might not have hopped on, like, 'cause those guys survived like well into like the 80s, at least 70s or 80s, right? And even though, you know, they didn't get into like bell-bottom suits or safari jackets and stuff, they still wore what they were wearing. And it might also just, they're just used to it, but also like they made a conscious choice, and that could be why they have personal style. You know, it's a little bit different than someone who changes their outfits up so often. And I'm totally a hypocrite because if you look at me 5 years ago and look at me now, like I share on Facebook or Instagram, I definitely dress different. But that's because I'm young. But like, you know, it's different between that, like upgrading your style, and say, oh, one day you're into Rick Owens, and then one day you're into fucking tailoring, and then you're into, I can't even think of another weird designer. I don't know. You're into Supreme, you know.
Ben Silver.
You know, the weird thing though is that guys like Jeremy Kirkland and Lawrence Schlossman of fucking Throwing Fits, or whatever, Grailed, whatever. Yeah. They're kind of like that, and it makes me always iffy to kind of. I don't think they listen to podcasts. No. But, you know, it's not a slight against them, but it's just because we live in the era now of everyone has the freedom to try and do new things. You know, it's bigger than me and Spencer because, like, you know, me and Spencer were like tailoring, and all of a sudden now we're kind of getting to Western wear. I'm wearing a fucking sawtooth shirt that I never thought I'd ever wear. But there's a difference between that and like you listen to like Jeremy Kirkland say he grew up with like Super Future, you know, Fashion Beans, you know, wearing and flipping Rick, to like a guy who wears like Orazio now at the Armory, and then now he's kind of just wearing like Ivy separates from like Sid Mashburn or whatever, you know. And it makes me backpedal on what I just said about how like, oh, and you know, good style is always going to be so consistent when all these other guys today that are, you know, more influential than me and Spencer have such a variety in their personal
I mean, it's like
style.
I haven't checked out Jeremy Kirkland's Instagram in a while, but I recall even when he dressed up, I couldn't tell you what it was, but there always seemed to be like a through line in all his outfits. Like there was something kind of consistent about it. Like even if he was wearing vastly different pieces, you could say, okay, this works. This looks good next to this.
Yeah, and I mean, like, let's take our friend Marco, who is probably one of the most stylish and fashionable people that I fucking know. He, you know, he grew up with MFA before I got there. I mean, apparently he said that he read my blog. I don't believe it because
I don't believe it.
Must have been like a while. Yeah, no, it must have been a while ago. But like he says that he grew up, you know, with MFA wearing Clark's desert boots with like selvage denim, and then you see him like now where he's like wearing like Bodie. He's wearing okay, it's 69, but I don't think that's the right name for it because he wears like a pin that has 69 on it. That's like the logo of like a brand.
Yeah.
I don't think it's called that. But from afar, yeah, it's kind of weird. He's wearing like freaking crazy pants with like a crazy jacket. But then when I look at it, he's wearing a sports shirt with like straight cut denim.
Exactly, yeah.
The denim might be like green with fucking like skull and crossbones in yellow on it from like Capital or wherever it's from. But like, it's just jeans done a different way. You know, it's still kind
everything
of the same,
is just jeans.
It's just everything is. Jim, all life is jeans.
There you go.
There's our office plug for you there. Also, watch Blacklist. I'm watching it. I decided to go forward with it because I couldn't wait to watch it with my friend, and now I am sucked in. But yeah, like there's a lot of like analogies to like, or analogous like connotations to like regular menswear, and that's how it is with everything because most fashion today takes what came before and just kind of does a spin on it.
Yeah,
right?
because it's like, you know, there's not much you could do with pants. Like it's like you can.
Yeah, they gotta have holes for your legs.
Yeah.
Yeah, or you're wearing a skirt, and that's fine too.
Exactly.
You know, but everything kind of builds off on those things, and you know, like Spencer said, like a lot of people. Yeah, well, he's right. When I look at these people who I think have vastly different like stages of fashion or style, there is a consistency because it's inherent. You know what looks good on you. You know what excites you. You know what'll push the boundaries without being too far out there. Like my whole casual Ethan article. It's so different than like what like an Ivy person or like a worker person would wear on their days off. But to me it makes sense, right? Like I'm wearing wide-legged pants like without a cuff that are kind of like they kind of drape like culottes, I don't know, like capris, whatever, like they drape like that. But in my head they're just like Oxford bags, like the wide-leg 30s things I wore, just worn without a suit, you know. There's always those kind of analogies to it. And so I never, to bring it back to the topic, I don't really get scared of like fashion, you know, like because yeah, some things might not work for us, but there are always going to be some things where like, hey, that makes sense to me and I'm going to try it, you know. And that's why, again, the whole idea of fucking putting these two things against each other is pretty hard because in reality, you know, we like to think that the whole world is divided between like the guys who wear suits and the guys who wear like streetwear.
The preps
but
and
there
the
is
goths.
a lot of but there's a lot of overlap. I mean, I'm technically in that overlap because I dig goth style. I like punk style, and I'm also definitely a prep, you know.
And you know the name of the blog, Street Expressa.
Street Expressa. Yeah, it was a literal partnership between streetwear and Sprezzatura, I guess. That, you know, we're not gonna get into that again. But you know, it's such a weird arbitrary thing. I'm scrolling through our comments because we are live right now and no one's really said much about it. But you know, I'm pretty sure most people kind of agree. I'm assuming from like if you follow me because there are a couple times like on Reddit where people are like, oh yeah, that Ethan guy, I could never wear what he wears like out, and I'm like, that's crazy because I don't even think I'm that weird. Yeah. You know. No,
it's like my favorite story from when I was at Men's Warehouse, when I was a guy came in. I'm looking for a couple ties for work, and I showed him a couple, and I pulled out like a red and gold striped tie, and he said, "Oh, I could never wear something so bold." I'm like, what? Like it was just like a rep stripe. It wasn't anything crazy. It was just a red with thin gold stripes on it, and he was like, "That's so bold. I can never wear that."
Yeah, and I think I've also seen sometimes where I'm like, I give someone like a stripe and they're like, "Oh, that's too much fashion for me," and I'm like, "Hold on, what about this like striped tie or like a dotted tie is so like fashion to you?"
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just I honestly think that people hide behind these arbitrary words like style versus fashion because they don't want to sound they don't want to come off that they're too closed to expanding their style, and they also don't want to admit that maybe they just, you know, there's nothing wrong with having a defined style. You know, like I don't care how many people are triggered. I hate Barracuda G9 jackets. I will never wear one. I say that now. You know, you can quote me on this. You know, I'm not trying to say like, oh, you know, it's so it's fat. You know, no, I'm just gonna say I don't like it, and there's nothing wrong with like just admitting you don't like something. You know. But it's so interesting to see like this argument kind of come up every once in a while, and I also think that it could just be invented by the fashion industry to like force you to go into like niche things, right? Like you know, it's like when J. Crew first started, right? Like they were like, oh, like they went the fashionable route, right? Like they're not like your dad's shirts. They're not like those old things. You know, they're trying to be new, and so you go into the fashion part. And then when you go to like the armor, like, oh, we're not GQ. We're gonna be old school. We're gonna go into like the style part. It's a way of like kind of creating this like false dichotomy. You know.
It was invented by Hallmark to sell cards.
Yeah, Don Draper was like, you know what?
Yeah,
I'm gonna pitch you guys something real quick.
This is the episode where he got drunk at the awards show and then immediately started doing rapid fire pitches.
Yeah, but I mean, even then, you know, when you think about it, even like all these like style, like Drake's with the Armory, they have to be a part of fashion.
Yeah, we've talked about this. They follow trends.
Yeah, or they you know, not even just trends. They try and invent new ways to wear things.
Yep.
You know, they try and bring stuff back. Like, you know, the Armory, if you look at it right now, they're wearing like Gillette's or puffer down vests, like the Rocky Mountain Featherbed, whatever ones. Like they're bringing that back. You know, like that's certainly like a fashion kind of thing. Even though it's a classic piece, it's not really rooted in like you don't see like Cary Grant again or like whatever wearing a down vest, but the choice of doing it is fashion.
Yeah. Do you think
there's always going to be a little bit of both?
Did Drake? It was Drake's responsible for the resurgence of the rugby shirt. I don't remember when that started.
I think
because it's like now they're selling like, you know, they've been selling rugby shirts at J. Crew and like Urban and shit like that.
I don't know. See, maybe it's just because I'm so far removed from it. You know, like I wonder if like Urban Outfitters people like go to Pity. I mean, they must, right?
Yeah,
like,
maybe.
Like they have to, right? But it's kind of like, you know, seeing what trends really do define what you find out there, and it also affects your perception of what's classic or not. You know, like I would say, like you know, yeah, rugby shirts definitely like made a comeback when Drake's introduced them. Maybe like 3 or 4 years ago ish. Maybe that might be too long. Maybe it's like 4 to 5 seasons ago. But yeah, you know, like they did that. You know, the Rowing Blazers came out around the same time, and that was like one of their initial stuff.
Offerings,
and then J. Crew started doing them. McGill came about, but like, you know, in the grand scheme of things, it's just heritage pieces.
Exactly.
But, you know, the way of bringing them back was fashion, you know?
And I mean, like, you could look at pictures of like Pity from 10 years ago, and maybe the peacocks walking around Pity is not indicative of
like the actual
of like classic menswear. But if you look at pictures of Pity from like 2010, it is like, you know, so much different than things now. I feel like, you know, it's still a lot of the same pieces, like 3 roll 2 sport coats or whatever, soft shoulders. but they're wearing them in like much different ways than you would wear them now.
Yeah, no, see that exactly. I mean, we're also just looking at it from menswear, which is very small.
Yeah,
classic menswear. You know, it's so small, so it's kind of easy to like determine like trends. Because I mean, before for a while there was a lot more 2 and 3 button suits, but then now like almost everything's 3 button now. You know, I certainly. There's a good article that we can link in the show notes about that Simon Crompton wrote about how like there are like micro trends within menswear, like the width of lapels has certainly gotten bigger over the years, like more so than like say like compared to like ring jacket to J. Crew, but more so like just, you know, like half an inch bigger like normal, you know. So yeah, like Kai just said right now, lots of stuff about style is based upon fashion, you know, and it takes the right person to kind of make it, to anchor it in, right? Like, I guess that's why there are influencers or style icons, but, you know, like let's take the sawtooth shirt as an example here. Like, people have been wearing it a long time. When I'm writing my article about it, I'm pretty sure I've seen people and inspiration, my first inspiration from like 2014 or whatever, people wearing it. But it took like Ethan Newton wearing it to be like, okay,
this is cool. Yeah,
this is cool, you know. And me following that is fashion for my followers or my small circle of friends who don't normally wear it. But then when you look in like the bigger picture, it's just like we're bringing back this thing from like 70 years ago. And even Ethan Newton said like, I wanted to make the denim shirt that I had like tried to collect and then never found. I'm just going to reproduce it.
Yeah.
You know?
How do we, I think our next project should be like figuring out how we join this like menswear council of Nicaea, and we get to decide which items are clothing are stylish,
which ones are canon,
which ones are canonical, and which ones become like the
apocrypha.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you know, well, we like to be the independent people here, but I really do wonder if we're just getting our information from like the menswear Illuminati or something.
Yes, we
are. Michael Hill and Mark Cho.
Because we are definitely not part of it.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not. But yeah, you know, it's so much easier to, you know, again, to define fashion as like streetwear and stuff. But I don't know, that's just like an us versus them mentality. And you guys should know, based on this podcast, we don't really like that too much at all, you know. We don't really, I certainly don't think I'm more stylish than anyone on High Snobiety or whatever. I think they're cooler than me. So, you know, and it's like, it's weird that fashion has a very derogatory term. It's like anything that's like too different is called fashion, but I mean, it should be embraced. Otherwise, we would never have gotten anywhere we are today. You know, like, I mean, we're not all still wearing spear point collars because someone thought it would be fashionable to wear a point collar, you know, or a spread collar.
And maybe some people will hear that and be like, "See, this is why fashion is bad."
Yeah, but you know, again, like we go back to the whole dress down world thing. The more choices you have, the better it is for personal style.
Exactly.
Because yeah, sure, it might not be us versus them, but you do get to separate the wheat from the chaff a little bit, you know.
Yeah, because I mean,
kind of see,
as we said before like, you know, before the internet. I mean, you know, maybe I'm ignorant because I've never really lived life without the internet. But before the internet,
what a zoomer.
Yeah, what a zoomer.
Want to Zoomer's revenge.
I'm a Zoomer, baby. That's Joker, baby, but Zoomer. But so I mean, I've never been
dab.
Like, I've never tried to, you know. By the time like we had the internet, I was like, I don't know. We probably had the internet when I was born. But anyway, I've never been stylish without the internet.
If I didn't know what people were wearing,
there has never been this number of like micro communities in fashion at any point in history, as far as I can tell. Like it's like, you know, the number of different like styles that you can dress in is mind-boggling. And
yeah, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. And before it was all pretty kind of standardized. There was kind of more of a monoculture than there is now.
And like we said before, you know, yeah, everyone might have worn suits, but I swear to God, there was like some factory worker guy who was like, "Fuck wearing suits! I hate this." You know, like I want to wear jeans every day, but they can't. You know, and and now you have the choice to do both, and you have like this. I think people have like a deep-seated idea again of like what they think looks good on them, and without the idea of fashion pushing that, you would never know. And again, yeah, fashion does have a design-centric component to it. Sometimes crazy pants, high-waist pants, those are fashion choices compared to the norm, but they inform what your personal style is. They show you what you like and what you don't like. And I hate being a monolith. I hate wearing the same thing every day. I don't think I've ever really outfit repeated too much. Wow. If I did, it was kind of like small variations, like, oh, instead of wearing loafers with this, I'll wear white sneakers, or I'll wear stay press instead of like World War II chinos. It's very small, but I like the idea of customizing and doing something different each time.
Sometimes if I'm like going out and I'm hanging out with one person and I'm wearing an outfit and then I'm like, damn, this is good, I will wear it next time I'm hanging out with a group of many people, so as many people can see it as possible.
This goes back, yeah. So on a date I wore with jeans. I wore my green Westerner with my miniature tigers t-shirt. It's like yellow on green, really cool. And I'm like, damn, this is good. I only saw this girl the whole day.
Yeah.
I'm going to wear it to karaoke where there's a bunch more people.
Exactly.
And then I was like, okay, what do I change here? So I wore it with stay pressed and sneakers instead of like loafers and jeans to give it like a different edge. And I'm like, fuck yeah, dude, this is great, And like something I wouldn't have thought of that if I didn't see, like, I think Mad Woodruff did like a thing where he wore like a bright yellow shirt with like a bright yellow t-shirt with like a button-up shirt, but then I'm picking green instead of whatever color he was wearing or whatever. And I mean, I don't know what you call that, fashion or style. It's a fashion choice that goes along with my personal style, I guess, because I would argue now that Spencer and I have like a very derogatory term toward like style, because style is so boring. Yeah, it comes across as boring.
I just don't like being pretentious about clothes, and it's like, I have a podcast where I talk about clothes, but I try not to be. I try not to think about it too much because I'm like, it's just clothes.
I think Alex Fetkovich has something in his podcast where he goes like, he's like, I'm understanding more and more now that clothes are made for you, and I'm like, I mean, yeah, dude, they are. But it takes a little bit of expanding your boundaries to get that into that mindset, and it is. Or what I've noticed is that a lot of guys who have the whole style versus fashion dichotomy are guys who are pretty early on in their menswear journey. They're the kind of guys who wear suits all the time. I think our friend Austin Robertson, who we did a podcast episode with him about YouTube influencers a while back. I think at that time he was like, "Oh, I'm never gonna wear jeans ever." And then I think recently, because we're friends, I saw him. He bought a pair of jeans, and he said, I think he mentioned in the comment that he only did it because he finally found a pair of high-waisted jeans. And yeah, I mean that's good, because you're trying to compromise between things in your head. Like, a lot of people think jeans are like low-waisted, and especially if you shop at J. Crew or H&M and that's where you think all your jeans are, of course you're going to think about that. But when you're able to break through that and kind of expand it doesn't really matter. Wearing jeans doesn't mean you're going to be like, you're some fashion guy who's hates suits, and just because you wear suits doesn't mean you're a guy who hates anything that's not tailored to your body. So it's just a weird dichotomy to have, if that could be the theme of the episode. It's an unproductive argument and thing to determine, like, what's fashionable, what's stylish, because you're always going to experience it in the moment too, and you're not going to have like the foresight to kind of like look back and be like, oh well, that was actually like a what do you call it, like a long living choice that I made. Like, I thought that wearing loafers were fashion, and like, I'm never going to wear loafers, and then all of a sudden I fucking wear loafers all the time.
So our advice to you for this episode is unlisten to it, because it's a pointless argument. If
you didn't like us talking about this for like 40 minutes,
go into the Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind machine and have this episode wiped from your memory.
And then when you come across it, you're like, wait, did I listen to that? Keep listening to it, keep reviewing it, and then
get yourself stuck in a roofie hole.
Yeah. Gregory says, the dichotomy is an industry standard. I love doing research and making a twist. I remember doing a fashion project and looking at outfits in magazines and going on a journey to thrift the fit. I mean, that's also one thing too about, I mean, this goes back to why we buy things. But like a lot of fashion, I guess today is like oversized fit, which is great because I like oversized things because it fits in with my regular aesthetic. But a lot of things with fashion, you can approximate it by buying vintage.
Exactly. And as we said before, we steal everything. Not clothes, but outfit ideas.
Yeah, we're not. I again, like I always say, like I look at like the people who like follow me or that I follow, and they always say like, oh man, like let's take like our friend John Robinson, who's a prolific guy in our Facebook group, and he'll wear like a fucking hoodie with like a sport coat, and I'm like, dude, you're fucking killing it. Like I could not, like I didn't even think about doing that until I saw it on him, you know. And it's funny to see, like, you know, these people who look up to me, and I'm like archiving all your outfits in my head, and I'm just gonna do like my own versions of it, you know. But yeah, anyway, like I said, erase it from your mind. Style versus fashion, it's not productive. Have a good dose of both, because I do both.
Yep.
You know, I do get comments every once in a while like, why are you doing it? What's happening? Oh yeah, there was one guy, I don't know if he listens to the podcast, but he always messages me like, I think I wore like a jumpsuit, and he's all like, what are you doing, Ethan? This is not you. And I'm like,
yes,
I feel like it kind of is.
Yeah, like, it's like I'm wearing it, so like, it is me.
Yeah, literally, it's coming from the word of God. Yeah. Although I will say that I don't consider Rogue One to be very good, but it literally is Star Wars because it came from Star Wars. But whatever. But you know, it's like when you do it, it inherently is you. And tying it down to like, oh, I'm just following a trend, I don't know. It just seems so negative, even though this episode is shitting on people who have that mentality. But like, oh shit, I had a point to say. I was gonna say, people who are experimenting should not be shamed for experimenting or following a trend. You know.
No, exactly.
The issue can be a little bit more of like using fast fashion and then discarding it. Like that's a bad mentality to have. But if you're confident in what you're doing and you want to try something out, you should do it. You know, like Spencer. I think a lot of his old shirts were like J. Crew. That they don't have like the best collar, but he did it because like, you know, he didn't have a shirt like that before, and then he starts wearing it, and he's like, cool, it's like a gateway thing.
It's a gateway drug.
It's a gateway drug. Short, yeah. His like Madras shirts that were like a gateway to like finding a real Madras shirt. Yeah. You know, and if someone is going to result in doing, you know, in finding their personal style, then it should not be shunned.
Yeah, and even if you do an experiment and it's like the Muppets scientists, Beecher, and who's the other guy?
Dr. Honeydew.
Yes, if it blows up in your face like those two.
That's fine.
Fashion wise, it's, you know, you're trying some. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think, I mean, you know, a lot of people again like to hide behind like fashion is like killing the environment, which is true. You know. Yeah. But having an intentional mind behind it, you know, being confident in your choices, should be celebrated, and it's not, you know, that's the real thing. That's the real argument to have. You know. Don't just say, oh, fashion is bad because it kills the environment. This is like, you know, maybe don't think of it as like fashion. Think of it as expanding your personal style. Mm-hmm. There we go. That's a good sign off. Yep. Anyway, thank you for listening. We're going to go to this is one episode, one question we have from Nanad. I'm pretty sure we have had a question from him before.
Repeat customer.
So he goes, sorry, Spencer. He says, hello, Ethan.
Oh, no.
No other name. I am a devoted reader of your style journey and find it very interesting and educating. I started the style journey myself 4 years ago and found great pleasure in the pursuit of style, which as most people, I'm assuming, have ups and downs, which is funny from this perspective. I started my journey in a small provincial town in Southeast Europe and continued in London, and I have been observing the state of menswear through bloggers, photographers, lookbooks, and nonetheless watching people around. And this is what I found: true classic menswear is disappearing, and it has become mostly business wear for addressing. Has become mostly business for addressing wealthy gentlemen. To whom it is focused. The more and more I observe, the more lonely I become, and also developed in some kind of personal style and not giving an F. Oh, not giving an F what anyone else will think and if it feels good. People like you and your friends keep it real and fun, but the truth is classical men's style is left on individuals, and most of its protagonists are selling it by pretending to be saving it. Well, these are my sincere thoughts, and would love to hear what you think of it. That's a very interesting thing, because I think about this a little bit frequently, because I was working out with MJ, and there's some personal stuff that we'll get to in a future episode if it gets down to it. But I was thinking about how the menswear industry tends to kind of be very closed. Not that it's like, you literally have to be rich to be a part of it, but also that it's kind of like you're just moving from place to place. Like, I think one of the criticisms from like Stofa or Anglo-Italian was that the customers were like old armory customers or old tailoring customers who just find like the next thing. It is kind of just a circular loop of people just
selling to each other.
Kind of like how when you go to a vintage, it's very similar when we go to a vintage, what do you call it? Like a get together, like a meetup, expo, whatever. Yeah, you might see some regular people, but in reality, it's like Benny finding something cool and giving it to Damien.
It's going to
finding a tie.
A trade show.
Exactly. It's going to a trade show rather than, expanding the thing. So I do agree that classic menswear is disappearing from like the regular.
Yeah, because it's like, it's not something I think about, but yeah, all the like classic menswear guys that I can think of that I follow on Instagram, for the most part, their job is selling classic menswear. So
right.
Yeah.
But then you think, it could just be what happens when you sell something that isn't like a commodity, right? You're selling something that people have to identify with like as a way of life, and it's easy to do that when someone already agrees with that way of life or has an interest in it. You might think Grailed is cool, but in reality it's a bunch of sneakerheads selling other stuff to each other too, right? It's the same thing. You go to like a beauty convention, you're not really getting regular people kind of into it. You're getting, well, actually that might be a little bit different, but within most fashion circles, especially if it's more niche, you're definitely going to have that feeling. It definitely is. It's closed off, and it seems like it belongs to a select few.
And it's also like
kind of does.
I think this is a problem for a lot of our listeners or readers or whatever, and even us to an extent, who don't live in New York City or London, where everything is kind of centered, like Tokyo, whatever. But it's a very like kind of geographically locked off thing too.
Yeah, there's a big thing I can link in the show notes of in Reddit. Technically, it's a put this on post where Derek guy separated the U.S. into two different areas. One was places where you have no closet space, but you can wear whatever the fuck you want, and places where you have a lot of closet space, but you can't wear anything because people will judge you.
Yep. And
the whole comment thing in the on Reddit when it was posted there was like people kind of arguing about like how I could never wear what people wear here, because they don't live in like a quote like a liberal West Coast elite area where people don't, or they're more secularized. There's more acceptance, of other styles of dress. So it is geographical. You're not gonna get a guy wearing fucking Fox Air double-breasted suits in Texas, where you could just wear a t-shirt and you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why I've written my blog. I share pictures not just of me but of Spencer, of MJ, because my goal is to not really create a brand that I sell. It's more like it's me selling the idea that you can wear classic menswear even if you're a regular person. I like being away from the action, because it's like I enjoy wearing this. I don't necessarily have to work. I have no desire to be a designer, but I think other people should be like, yeah, you like this, you should wear it too. And I think if we have more of this conversation, more of this mindset, you won't see the loss of classic menswear. And hopefully it'll be less about the wealthy businessman, because I feel like the wealthy businessman, is a little bit of personal style there, but it's also like I want to wear the best of the best, which comes from being a wealthy guy, right? You don't want to eat McDonald's anymore because you've tasted like a steak made just for you. Why would you eat McDonald's, right? And
then you can
cool
taste a
too.
suit made just for you.
Yeah. But that's totally valid, because a lot of guys, like, I think Alex has said that, Ethan Newton has said that, Mark Cho has said something like that. But that's great for the menswear industry. That's great for if you're rich. But something that Spencer and I have always thought about is like we're not in that world. No. We're if you haven't gotten any of that from this episode, we're definitely not in that world. And so our goal is always like, yeah, you should like try it out, And it's cool that you've observed this, because I think about it too, and that's why like I invite my friends to come with us to like the Rose Bowl, because like I can tell that some people that we're friends with, the people that we know, are like, oh, I want to dress like you, but I don't know how. And it's not, I don't like it when you ask for advice. I like it when you want to just hang out and you kind of get off on it. No. But you get something out of it, Yeah. Like I took my friend Adam, a new friend of mine. He wears like kind of the same t-shirt. He has a cool like regular personal style. But we took him to the Rose Bowl and he's like, hey, where are those like blue jackets you guys always wear? I'm like, oh, it's short coat. He's like, yeah, I kind of want to get one. And he tried on a bunch, and it looks cool. Like he wears it now instead of like his H&M denim jacket, and it works, and it kind of fits in with this whole. He's very much a hipster. He loves film. He loves indie films, indie music, but it fits in with him, and like that's an aspect of classic menswear that is like penetrating to like this regular world of his that makes sense.
Yeah,
And I'm not, I'm not selling it to him because, oh, you have to get the Drake's one because it's made the best, or get one that's bespoke. No, it's just
get one that looks cool.
Just get one that looks really cool. And so, yeah, I don't think it'll ever go back to like the way it was. I don't think that, we can change how a lot of people view menswear. But what you can affect is how people get into it, which is why I continue doing what I'm doing. And being able to explain it too, like, because a lot of people will ask, well, why do you do that? Well, I'm like, well, just read this fucking 8,000 word article about why I wear a fucking beret, But people respond to that, or to just regular conversation, and yeah, I guess that comes back to why you said that people like us and me, Spencer, and I and our friends keep it real, and. Again, like with the whole dichotomy thing, I think it's kind of, it's not really productive to think about like the death of menswear. I think if we keep focusing on that, it's just kind of sad, or it doesn't really get you anywhere. But just focus on like sharing what you like. Telling your friend, was that your light dog at me?
Yeah. No, I mean as we often said, just wear what you want, like all the time.
Yeah. But I say I want to add like. Share it, share what you're passionate about, wear it when you're hanging out with your friends to an extent, you don't want to look like the dick with a suit while your friends are wearing t-shirts, but find a way to do that. And that's how you keep interest alive, like if I didn't talk about how much film scores meant to me, I think my friends wouldn't care about fucking leitmotifs and development. But now whenever we watch a movie, they're like, yeah, I didn't think there was a main theme of this movie, and I'm like, yeah, exactly. And that's how you get the conversation going, because we're all still consumers at the end of the day too. We still have a lot of power in what we do. We all have a voice. Might not be big, but having an opinion is an opinion. I don't know what I was trying to say there.
Having an opinion is an opinion.
It's just kind of like, when you wear when you like to wear, like our friend and Adam or Andrew, those are still choices that show that they're not going to bow to just wear whatever's fashionable. They're going to wear what they're into, what personally speaks out to them. And that's, it's cool to see regular people do it, within varying degrees, whether it's a suit, whether it's wearing a denim shirt because you fucking love denim shirts, or wearing band tees because that's your thing. We have plenty of friends with different style who we've introduced this concept of like, I guess, caring about what you wear, but applying it to their own context. Like our friend Mac, right? Like, I don't know what he was like when Spencer met him, but like now, like, he likes wearing vintage stuff. He wore like he bought a jumpsuit one time I saw him,
Yeah, I mean, he's had a very consistent kind of like skater thing going on. Like, it's like when one of the first times we hung out, we went to a vintage store in London, and he got like a 1940s tan work shirt. What totally what fit purchase. In with everything else he has. He's always liked
old
Fred Perry stuff,
Yep. Yeah.
I'm getting a lot of notifications now that we're no longer going live.
Yeah, not because we canceled, because we just ran out of time.
We ran out of time.
But yeah, I mean, that's just kind of the way to do it. And again, Nanad, thank you for your submission. If you guys ever have a question or a story that you want to share, or even episode ideas, feel free to go in our show notes, find that Google form, and submit it to us. You can put your name or no name. Make it funny, leave us a funny message.
You could do like one of those things that they have, the advice columns. They always have like fun names, like Naughty in New York. You could do one of those.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yep. Don't make it Naughty in New York unless your question is about being naughty in New York.
In which case, that's for Sound Direction After Dark.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Patreon exclusive.
The Patreon exclusive. There we go. So anyways, thanks for listening. Please give us a review. We should really put that at the beginning, but it doesn't really matter. We don't make money off of this. But if you
sure would like to.
if you want us to, let us know if you guys really want this to be like a Patreon type of thing, or you guys want to find a way to support.
And give us a suggestion. What would you like to see on Patreon? Because we don't know.
We would love to do these things that people want us to do, but we just want to get there. Because right now it's easy for us to kind of just talk about whatever we want and have a non-consistent schedule.
Yeah.
But we like doing this, and every time I get a message, I don't know if Spencer gets them, but I get people who say they love listening to the podcast. It makes me really happy, and I really want to continue doing that for them.
The few times I've been recognized in public, it's because of the podcast, which is weird.
That's not. Hey, it's Spencer, not from Ethan's friend from Street Expressa. It's Spencer from Style and Direction.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, please, send us a message. You can find the podcast on Instagram at Style and Direction, all spelled out. My Instagram is at Ethan M. Wong.
I'm at Spencer DSO.
And we'll be looking forward to you guys sending us ideas. We're going to have more episodes coming out soon. I think we got some ideas for some stuff. I'm taking a break from writing a blog post every week, actually. I kind of finally got burnt out from writing 8,000 words every week. But that just means I get to focus more on the podcast and do some other stuff as well. And we'll see you. Oh, and also a quick shout out to MJ for being the producer of the podcast. Thank you to also don't get on mic, but thank you to Matthew for helping us write out and give us timestamps for everything and writing up the quotes. We will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.